How do you find the balance between all those sort of ups and downs? And
Well, when you understand about life, and when I mean that, I mean from the spiritual perspective of the great writings of India like the Vedas and the Gita and so on, they talk about not being too attached to the world or too detached, in the sense that you need to have a spiritual lens, to a way of seeing life in a spiritual context. And it's one thing to go off at somebody or praise somebody or want love from somebody, or looking for wealth or power or influence or artistic endeavor or just expressing yourself. That's all fine. But the philosophies of India talk about being able to find the balance, and by that it is not to separate your working life, your family life from your spiritual life. And it's important that the spiritual understanding and the practice flows through all of these things. If it's not part of your life, it doesn't flow through your life, then you're really on the outside, knocking on the door, trying to get inside, which it's a good thing to want to get in. But you ask me, how do I feel about these things? You know, my guru, Sri Maharaji, he's taught me about what is birth and what is death, and what is the importance of both. About the power of the mind, you know, what can you achieve with the mind? Is it just a material endeavor to be prosperous and creative in the world? Or is it to use your mind to understand the deepest mysteries of all, which is the relationship of the self with the divine self? So the more that you understand that, and then you support that with a meditative practice, then the lenses of your eyes, meaning the intellect that you have, the way that you see things, your understanding adjusts accordingly. And so it's a long road, and yet it's a short road. A long road if you don't understand very much what I'm talking about, but a short road when you have understood it, then the joy of putting it into practice is something very special.
yeah, I agree. If you do put it into practice and start to learn the philosophy, how many, I mean, does it take weeks or months? If someone really sort of wanted to learn.
You know, to try and put a time on it, like a university course, in 3 years' time I'll have a PhD or whatever, it's not like that. The philosophies of India talk about the wheel of birth and death, known as the wheel of samsara, and that we've taken uncountable births. So if we're going to try and then take a slice of uncountable births and deaths into this very life and say, look, within 10 years I'm going to achieve this, well, that's kind of not possible. Let's be kind.
Do you think that could be too overwhelming for people? Looking at it in that time frame, they might not even sort of start. If I said if I listen to philosophy or put it into practice 5 times a week, then maybe in a few years it would become a part of my life and I could progress.
No, I don't think you should look at it like that. I mean, supposing you've got a pot of cold water and you put heat under it through a gas flame or electricity. Now slowly the water starts to get warm, and boiling. So look, you, in this particular life, it may not be apparent, but in your previous lives you've been working on it, and you know, some do accelerate quite quickly. The temperature of their spiritual power rises very fast. And for others, maybe it's a slow burn, in the sense it's a slow warming of your spiritual energy. But whether you're starting or whether you're highly evolved, the journey has to be done.
Yeah.
And spiritual life is about being patient. I saw in Japan once, you invited me there to give some programs, and you know, it was snowing and there was ice everywhere, and there was a restaurant called Hurry Slowly. Hurry Slowly. And I think that defines spirituality as well. Get on with the practice, but do it carefully, do it cautiously, and you will find that even in the earlier stages, the sense of contentment, of clarity, focus, achievement, all of these things, even in the beginning, start to become yours. But as the spiritual power increases, then you move perhaps more from theory, to be able to talk your mind into being peaceful and so on, to actually a tangible experience of the divine nature. And here, the attraction, the sense of love, the spiritual energy that's really powerful, well, it becomes your normality. But that's not the end game either. It goes on until one day you cross this wheel of birth and death and you truly realize the yog, the yuj, the yoga, the true unification of the Atma, the individual self, with the Paramatma, the divine nature.
Wow, something we can all look forward to.
Ah, indeed.
Namaste.
Namaste.